rechecking over the left breast, and finally she gave me the news that there's a very suspicious lump in your left breast, which looks really like a malignancy, a cancer. I was totally shattered, and I said, how will I deal with it now? My whole world came crumbling down. Today I'm smiling, but that day I was in tears, and I didn't know how to cope with it mentally and emotionally.
But that was the first time that she actually completely broke down and she was sobbing uncontrollably, almost like a small baby, who because the first thought, because she's a doctor, she's of course heard the worst, she's seen the worst, so therefore you think the worst.
Wala. Hello, Dolly. Look at your mommy. She's getting strong medicine, but she's so brave. She's having no fear. This is what she wants you both to become. Akshay and Chiki. Brave hearts. See? दे दो कुछ भी दे दो हम सब झेल लेते हैं. Okay, say something nice to your children. Hello, sweeties.
Never lose hope, always be brave, and you will come a winner.
And always be strong,
Kind, truthful,
and it's your support,
and loving.
it's your support, Isha and Akshay, that has taken us through this initial storm of this new challenge, but
And
together
Papa, of course.
together we'll all make it through this, right? Okay, bye bye babies, have a nice time, be strong, be brave, and don't take too many risks. Okay, 4 kilometers a day daily walking also. Hello friends, today Sangeeta and I are before you to share a very personal moment and period from our lives where we dealt with breast cancer up close and personal. We both are professional doctors. How this cancer affected our lives and how we dealt with this cancer with the help of our family, our doctors, and our support systems is something I want to share with all of you, and so does Sangeeta. Hi, Sangeeta. So, today we are sharing this last 2 years journey with our friends through the facility provided by iClinic and IQ Comms. I'm grateful to all of them. Let's start. So, tell me, Sangeeta, you had come down from Himachal where we were working to meet your mom in Noida, and tell me how it all began.
Yeah, so hi everyone, and hi Ashwini. It's today that I'm sitting so relaxed with a heart full of gratitude to God and everyone who helped me triumph over breast cancer. But it was a very difficult journey, and it was all of a sudden that I encountered this diagnosis when I reached my mother's house in the month of December. And I suddenly decided to get an ultrasound done, which I informed you also over the phone. We decided upon a date. It was 16th January. I very vividly remember. And that fine day, we reached the ultrasound clinic. Just a routine checkup after my blood tests. And so my doctor, ultrasoundologist, did the ultrasound of the abdomen and pelvis and the ultrasound of both the breasts. Well, the abdomen and pelvis was normal, but when she reached the breast, she said she kept on rechecking over the left breast, and finally she gave me the news that there's a very suspicious lump in your left breast, which looks really like a malignancy, a cancer. Oh, and there I really couldn't believe that, and I asked her to recheck it again. So she said that okay, I'll do that, and she rechecked it again, and then she said, "Oh no, it's a breast cancer." I was absolutely shattered. I said, "What is this news she's giving me? I thought everything would be normal for me. It was just a routine checkup." But then she said it is, and you have to get it further investigated to diagnose it completely.
I remember you contacting me immediately from the
Yeah.
ultrasoundologist's chamber itself, and you were bewildered, you were scared, and our son Akshay was with you, of course. He has been a rock through our entire journey through this. We contacted Harsh Mahajan. He very personally helped us and facilitated your diagnostics over the next week or so. Do you remember the sequence of events?
Yeah, so immediately at the clinic, after speaking to you and getting some very little consolation from you that I have to get it further investigated, I was totally shattered. And I said, how will I deal with it now? My whole world came crumbling down beside me. And today I'm smiling, but that day I was in tears. And I didn't know how to cope with it mentally and emotionally. And anyhow, I talked to Akshay and he said that we really have to face it. So we somehow took the reports and we traveled back home and with a sad heart that and all the various fears and ifs and buts coming into my mind, reached home somehow and told my mother, of course not, but my sister, who was shocked to hear about it, but she somehow composed herself. So we settled down in the house thinking about what next has to be done. What will be the sequence of events of this diagnosis that has been given to us?
So it was midnight in Houston where Isha was. You spoke to her and she was in the family way.
So I was very scared in breaking the news to my daughter who was pregnant and about 6 months into pregnancy, and but I still had to tell her. So I told her, I said, Isha, uh, the doctor ultrasonologist says that there is a suspicious lump in my left breast, and she said, "Oh, mummy, this is shocking, absolutely, and I don't think it can be true." So anyhow, we were quiet over the phone for some time, and I was almost in tears while I was speaking to her, and she comforted me, and I also suddenly realized. And
Life
so I said, okay, I'm not going
journey.
to go now more into it by talking to her long over it because it might harm her pregnancy. Though all those fears started creeping into my mind, and I kept quiet and I said, Isha, now we have to deal with it, and Papa has asked, or you have asked me to get the ultrasound further investigated at diagnostic center, and so we'll be going tomorrow. So tomorrow Akshay and myself, we would be traveling down to the center to get the further investigations done. That night was a very anxious and a very sad night for me because I had other plans in life. I was thinking of giving some more uplift to my career and various other things, and going and being with you, with my daughter in America for the pregnancy. But then all the plans changed, and we were sitting and talking about how to deal with this diagnosis.
And then of course next day Akshay handheld you through the process of further evaluation at the diagnostic center, and they did the necessary tests which involved your repeat ultrasound, your mammography, immediate true cut biopsy. Do you remember that day?
I was trying to be brave, but I was not really very brave. I was very disturbed, but somehow I reached the center and went for a repeat ultrasound, and hoping against hope,
Where they verified the findings of the
hoping
earlier.
against hope that nothing is going to come out in this diagnosis. But after scanning, the ultrasonologist again said that it surely is a cancer of the breast and we have to go in for a mammography. And of course, a biopsy later on. And then they took me for a mammography, in which also confirmed that it was cancer. So she did my biopsy very well. It was sent for histopathology, and they asked us to now leave and they'll send us the report over the phone and confirm the diagnosis later on after 2 days. So we somehow left the center back home, just thinking all about what's going to happen next. So somehow I slept off and passed off 2 days feeling sad and unable to cope with anything. And then this all the time scanning my phone after 2 days and waiting for the report. And then this report came. And when I saw the report, I thought, oh my, let's hope it's not a cancer. But then it was an invasive ductal carcinoma, which is a cancer, and it had also spread to my lymph nodes. I was very sad and very depressed after having read the report, and really didn't know what the treatment part would be. Of course, I being a doctor know well about the disease itself, but the treatment modalities had to be discussed with an oncologist. I was absolutely, I didn't know what to do. And I immediately rang you up, you remember, because I was feeling very, sad and depressed. And then I called my daughter again to disclose the news in the evening and told her. So she was also shocked. She said, Mummy, okay, now we have to deal with it. You have to get to an oncologist, you have to get treated, and you have to be okay. Though I kept on telling her, Isha, I can't believe that this is true. I think it's not true. Let's forget about the treatment. But she insisted. She said, no, it's true. You have to get it treated. It's very difficult to believe, And I was feeling so scared. How will I undergo all this treatment? Because it was looking so huge to me. And various things were being discussed about me. And I was like a lay person feeling scared and down with fear. And finally, I told my daughter over the phone that I'm not going to go in for a treatment. I'll just be like that only. So she said, no, you can't do anything. And she was very fearful. And she said, Mummy will avoid getting everything done. So she booked her tickets and she traveled from US straight to Delhi to be with me. We didn't even have a place to stay in Delhi.
Yes, we were staying in a hotel accommodation in Delhi.
Yeah, and we looked
and
upon a house
yeah.
and fixed it up.
So now here we were, Sangeeta, Akshay and you were basically already in the NCR for the last few months, and I had joined you from Palampur, and Isha was on her way. What were your thoughts once your immediate family was with you?
Yeah, certainly, and certainly the news of my daughter traveling from US gave me more confidence because I was very close to her and I felt I could discuss anything with her which I couldn't with you or Akshay. And so once it was decided that she's coming, I was a little more emotionally stable and confident.
I remember this was a very difficult time, and I believe everybody goes through this period of, hand wringing. Choosing the doctor, choosing the hospital, choosing the city, not letting go of opportunities like America में भी इलाज कर सकते हैं, बेटी अमेरिका में settled है, was always a challenging decision to, give up on. So, do you remember how many doctors we consulted and why we finally decided that India is as good as any place in the world?
So the treatment protocols which are being discussed all were looking the same abroad as well.
They were the same.
Yeah, all were the same.
India was very much up to date.
Each hospital was giving the same pattern of treatment for me, And so we finally decided upon Fortis Gurgaon. Now, going and seeing patients in the hospital is a different thing, and me going as a patient and sitting amongst the cancer patients and all with, was a big kind of a scare from me initially, and I was very scared doing it, but still I did it.
So now this was a new experience for you and me, sitting in the lobby waiting for our appointment, talking to other patients and their caretakers, and understanding their agony and their successes and failures. Do you remember those days sitting in the OPD?
I remember I never used to tell you people, but the scare of seeing patients, some had lost their hair, some were looking very diseased, some were looking very scary. Those kind of things, they were haunting my mind, and I was feeling so scared that this is the way I also might look after my treatment, or after my, the whole treatment gets away and the disease process being there. But then I have a never say die kind of a spirit. I said no,
Anisha was with you.
Anisha was with me and everybody was giving me emotional support. So I said, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to conquer it. And I just said, I'm going to just believe the doctor. I'll just trust him blindly and do whatever he says. And so we met the oncologist. He decided upon my treatment plan.
तो संगीता, जब हमने ये सारी ट्रीटमेंट डॉक्टर विनोद रैना से आउटलाइन करवाई एंड वी एक्सेप्टेड द प्रोटोकॉल्स एंड वी wanted to go in for it as soon as possible, do you remember which date it was and how we went about it?
I was so scared of the injections and the IVs. I used to give it to my patients, but I was very scared in having it for my own self.
And your veins are difficult to access.
Yeah, and so they said that first they will put a chemo port inside me. It was the 31st of January. They put the chemo port through which the drugs would go into my body on every cycle of chemotherapy that I had to receive. And that was done. It was a small surgical procedure. It was done successfully. And the very next day I had to go for my chemotherapy. So we went there to the center. I got the chemotherapy of 4 drugs. During a period of whole day I was admitted there. And while giving the drugs there was no problem. And after that I reached home, back home, and then 2-3 cycles I repetitively took. I had to receive 6 cycles, and I was having so many GI upsets. I used to cry, and I had a total aversion to food, and I wouldn't eat anything.
And then the hair started falling.
And then gradually my hair started falling. It was, I think, the 3rd cycle that my hair started falling and my scalp was showing after the fall of hair. So I told my daughter, I said, I'm going to look very ugly. And I, of course, started looking ugly. And I was,
no, not at all. But it was a different look.
And I was also very scared, oh, my granddaughter is going to come and she is not going to even look at me. She's going to say, oh, my grandmother doesn't even have hair and how ugly she is looking. But then I couldn't do anything. So my daughter said, Mommy, don't worry. We'll go in for a hair wig for you, and which will cover all your head, and then everything will be fine.
And the doctor is saying that जब दवाई बंद होगी तो वापस आ
the hair will
जाएंगे
go.
और अच्छे घने बाल आएंगे.
So
जो कि हुआ.
Yeah. So we went in for a good hair wig. We got the hair wig home.
You got the most fashionable hair wig.
Yeah.
In the most fashionable
Yeah,
part
I got
of
the
Delhi.
hair wig at home and it was kept, but I never wore it for the whole of my treatment.
Yes.
And I was.
But it was there, so you had a.
Yeah. Every day I would comb
backup.
my head, and huge strands of hair would come out,
Yeah.
which all I collected and kept in a box. It's still lying with me. And I used to always love my hair. And
Yeah,
when
everybody does.
Yeah, and when I saw my hair going away, I really felt very sad. And I used to cry and keep telling everyone, see, my hair are going. just look at my hair. I was telling the maids and my daughter and everyone, my hair are going. So they said, "No, don't worry, they'll come back again." And so anyhow, I kept on, putting up a very brave front, and I was going for. I even took my people, my daughter, son-in-law, husband, and my son. Everyone. We used to go out sometimes for a dinner, or we would cheer ourselves up. Somehow the sick side.
Our children did this for us. They kept us engaged in normal social activities. They would
Yeah,
take us.
everybody would cheer me
They
up.
would take us to movies. They would take us out for dinners. They would dress you up in the best of dresses, make you wear your jewelry. On those days in which we were not involved in healthcare.
So after the chemotherapy finished, then I think we in June 2022 I went in for a surgery, which was a pretty long surgery of about 7-8 hours, where the lump was removed, the lymph nodes were removed. So I after the surgery I was a weak person. I wasn't all that confident, and I was very depressed, and my son-in-law used to often nudge me and say that you are not that cheerful as you were during the chemotherapy. You were smiling and laughing and going everywhere with us, but right now you're almost on the bed. And because I was very scared about the treatment which was about to come, that was in the form of radiotherapy. So they said that a one month long radiotherapy, including about 31 sessions, had to be given to me. So after the chemotherapy, I went in for the surgery, in which the lump was removed, the lymph nodes were removed, and the plastic surgery was done, which would prevent edema of the swelling of the
Left
limb,
arm.
left limb, and the surgery was pretty okay. And I reached home and waited for the histopathology report of the surgery, which revealed that I had some residual kind of cancer left. And then during this whole process of my surgery, my granddaughter was also born, and she was like an angel coming into the house. And every time I faced emotional upheaval, her cute face would come into my eyes, and that gave me such a lot of strength to go forward in life and conquer the disease well. I completed the whole radiotherapy, and then I went to the medical oncologist, and they said now you have to still have about 12 more sessions of chemotherapy. I was really very feeling low about the whole thing.
I
And
accept
the
that.
plea they gave for that extent of for extending the treatment was that they were suspecting some kind of recurrence of the disease
They wanted to
in
do
me.
the best to prevent recurrence.
Yeah, to prevent
This is what they
recurrence.
said. You were in fact, Sangeeta, after a certain point in time when you had overcome your initial
Yeah,
panic, you had started actually seeing patients online.
yeah,
You, in fact, I remember you lying while receiving your chemotherapy, dealing with online work, and actually, diverting your mind from the rigors of
yeah. And for about 1.5 years,
the disease and the medicine.
for 1.5 years, the hospital was a second home to me. And
Really.
I had started liking going there. I would look forward to my daycare visits. And when I used to tell my friends that this is what I feel, they would laugh at me, and they would say, "You are really comical when you say that, because you are fighting a disease." So I
The
think that,
hospital is like a temple
yeah.
actually
So I think
for the
that
patient.
positive attitude and my involvement with my disease and making it go away helped me a lot. And I think that made me sail through it. And in May 2023, my whole treatment ended. And I was given a PET scan was done in September 2023, which I was very scared, but the report came
You were
that,
apprehensive,
yeah, I was
but
apprehensive.
this time
I was
you
cancer
were
free.
completely
I was
declared
cancer
cancer free.
free, and that day was a day of joy for me.
It was a rebirth.
Yeah, it was a kind of a rebirth for me.
How you feel about life after having gone through this whole experience of dealing with cancer, its treatment, and the tumult it brought to our lives. What is your approach and your attitude towards life now?
Okay, so after I was given the go ahead that now there's no cancer in me, I'm cancer free, I had to plan my life ahead. And the doctors had given me a course of action in which I had to control my diet, I had to be more active, I had to exercise, and I had to be active and be very positive, of course, all through. I have still not been able to be very successful in monitoring my diet and my exercise. I'm not very active, but I'm a little active, but I have to really increase my activity and my exercise levels. Of course, I go in for some kind of exercises, and I have kept myself very busy. In fact, in my career also professionally, I have motivated myself to join various societies, and I'm very fond of music, so
Active
I
again.
I resort to a lot of music
Yes,
sessions
you're talented
at
in
home, and
singing.
that is a very big stress buster for me. And I have made a lot of friends and kept myself active mentally and physically, so that I don't feel scared. And let me tell you very honestly, not once also the thought of cancer recurring lurks, in my mind anymore now. I am pretty positive about my life, and I'm looking forward to various aspects of traveling here and there, working in my profession. Yeah, we
Uh,
both did go to
to both
America
of us.
to be with our granddaughter, and my granddaughter is like one very big source of strength and inspiration for me, that she's growing up, and I have a lot to look forward in life.
So, Sangeeta, now getting back to this conversation of cancer, what was your perception about cancer 3 years back? And after we both went through your diagnosis and treatment of breast cancer, how has it changed your approach towards cancer and your perception of cancer?
Though I was very well aware of cancers of the body, and especially in women, and how bad they can be, but I never thought that this is going to strike me so badly. And I really feel a little bad that I missed out on getting myself checked up a little earlier. Maybe it was there a little earlier for me and I missed out on it. But sooner or later, of course, it was diagnosed. But my message to everyone today would be that you should be aware of this cancer and keep on getting regular checkups for cancer breast, cancer cervix, cancer uterus, or as a matter of fact, all the body checkups should be well in time. And
And any unusual
and
event like
I
weight
used to,
loss?
the worst part is I used to write tests for my patients to get checked up for cancer breast, get ultrasounds done, get mammography done, and I never thought of getting it done for myself. So it was on that fine day, it had to happen, that I incidentally went up for a routine checkup and it was diagnosed for me, and how lucky I was that the diagnosis came up and I was treated well in time and my life was saved. And I also had a family history of my paternal aunt had cancer at the age of 75, and
But you never took it
but I
very
never took it
seriously.
very seriously, which was a very wrong thing I did.
What has been your learning experience from having had this encounter with cancer? And where were you 3 years back in your perception towards cancer? And what is your approach towards cancer now?
And my message to everyone today would be, please don't be negligent. Please go and get yourself checked up. And all women above 35, all girls and women above 35, you really need to get screened for cancer breast, cancer cervix, cancer uterus, and by getting the various preliminary screening tests. Like for cancer breast, you must go in for ultrasound, for mammography subsequently, and also don't hesitate to go and get yourself checked up by doctors for the same. Of course, be positive, be smiling, but at the same time, don't be negligent in your checkups. And always have faith in your doctors and get yourself treated well, and never leave your treatment halfway, and always complete it, and have faith in your treating
This
doctor.
time we were not the doctors. This time we were the
We were the
patients.
patients,
And I
yeah.
was the caretaker.
Yeah.
So it has been a new learning experience for us to be sitting on the other side of the chair. How has that changed your perception?
So now I'm more sympathetic toward my patients, and I was always sympathetic, but now I am having suffered so much. And my word of caution is that after having received your treatment, you need to go for your follow ups also very regularly, because in some cases there is a history of recurrence in cancer breast, which can be devastating. And so the regular follow ups, the treatment plan, the checkups which the doctor advises you, please go in for that.
So Sangeeta, having gained a very personal insight into breast cancer, what message do you have for people who are dealing with breast cancer, both as patients as well as caretakers?
Go for your regular checkups always, and especially for women above 35, get your ultrasound done, get your mammography done, and go and get yourself checked up from your doctors. And if you have a strong family history of cancer breast, so you must go and get yourself investigated properly. Now this I'm speaking to you as a doctor, not as a patient. Cancer breast is definitely treatable. Cancer cervix is also treatable if detected in the early stages, and it is henceforth same for cancer uterus and all other cancers. So, early detection, early diagnosis and prevention leads to treatment and of the disease
Complete
at the
cure.
right stage, and you are completely cured. And that fear that you will die because of cancer is no more there with all the advances and the treatment protocols that are being followed every day in the field of oncology. A very big thing is the support system, which really needs to be strong. So, if your family is strong and supporting you, and morally, physically, and emotionally behind you, I think you can conquer the disease, and I think you can have a win over it. And friends, of course, I would go up to say that my friends are very nice, and they always supported me, messaged me, even used to come and meet me at times, gave me the positivity, and nobody ever felt me that I had a disease. In fact, my friends used to call me now more often than earlier, and it was very heartening, and for me, and that gave me the real strength to win over my disease. So I'm happy that I'm over it, and let's look forward to life now.
So, Sangeeta, having dealt with cancer and successfully so, how has it changed your perspective and your view of life?
The thought is always at the back of my mind that I have had this disease, so I have to go for my regular follow-ups and checkups first and foremost. And life, of course, I love life, and I now want to work on my career as I was working earlier. In fact, maybe a little more if my physical strengths help me to do so. Want to travel, see my granddaughter grow up, get my son married, and see his family. And of course, do whatever makes me feel happy, pursue my very interest in music and my profession and my house. And I think right now at this stage, I'm not at all depressed. I'm not at all fearful of the disease. And of
The
course,
fear has gone.
yeah, the fear has gone. But yes, once in a while it comes to my mind that about recurrence and all. So for that, all I need to do is I have to be careful. And of course, certainly everyone, my message is I really look forward to life.
the winter time here in the US. So, you have a lot of festivities. So it was a great time for us. And then in January, we had a wedding from my husband's side, and we were in Arizona visiting. And I remember probably a few days before that, before I left for Arizona, my mom and Akshay had gone for like a little bit of a annual checkup with her. And it was just very randomly decided that she's going for it. There was no planning behind it. There was nothing, no appointment scheduled for it. There was no doctor who was asking her to come and show herself. So I think it was just herself, that she wanted to go and just get herself reviewed and checked up fully. And I think she happened to go to an ultrasonologist that she usually visits when she's in Noida. So she went and met her up, and then I think there was some kind of findings that came along that little that reviewer process with that doctor. And I think the findings came much later, where she did find something. And my mom told me about it on the phone, because she's a person who cannot keep anything within her. She's somebody who will come out with the most um, the randomest of things, even if it's something that'll hurt me, or even if it's something that's going to make me upset because I'm so far away from her. She will still come and tell me that over the phone, because that's the person that she is. She can't keep anything to herself for very long. She went in for another ultrasound, and that confirmed that there was something. And she then went ahead and got her biopsy done, and this was all happening while I was in the US. Still, I never really was thinking of coming, because I had a wedding that we were attending, and there was no plan in the picture, because I had just come back in December. Um, and it was morning time in the US, and I think her reports came in, and there was something suggestive in the biopsy, clearly. And I remember I picked up her phone, and she broke the whole, a little news to me that they're sending her in for biopsy. And I think I rushed outside the reception hall in Arizona, and I told Siddharth, my husband, that mummy's having some kind of biopsy now, and I think it's and I started crying, and everybody was around me. So I just rushed outside. I went outside, and my one of my sister-in-laws, she bumped into me, and I told her everything. And then I came back in, and I wasn't feeling too nice. So my family was around me, so I had to share that news with them. I just started crying because I was also expecting. So I was very uh, I was just very like overwhelmed with the news, and I think I was just very scared, and I didn't know anything about cancer, so I had no idea of of what to tell her, because I myself didn't know what to think of it, right? I remember Akshay came on the phone, and then he was trying to console me, and then my mom and I were she started crying, and we I think I just kept the phone, and then I was just very disturbed. I told my husband, I think he was in the shower that time, and he came out, and then he just was comforting me. And I had made up my mind on the very first day that I'm going to be with her. So I have to go to India, and I just made up my mind. Like, I didn't even think even once before making up my mind, because Siddharth was very supportive, and he was like, yeah, you have to go and whatever. And we were just starting to prepare ourselves then. In my head, I always feel like it can come back, or it can, and she's not probably living a lifestyle that she should, as per me, being a cancer survivor. So that fear always is in my head. And I always, and you will hear that from my mom. I'm always behind her to live a better life, a better lifestyle, have a better routine now, because I'm worried that the relapse can really bog her down, and I don't want that to happen because I was expecting a baby, right? So everybody, obviously, the plan wasn't to come down to India. The plan was to have them come to me when I deliver. But the plan had, it had totally taken a shift, right? So we decided that I'll be coming and helping her. Well, she's also a very high spirited person. If you've met her, you'll know that she's a very like a talkative, full of energy kind of a person. So she took it really well, and I was very surprised by that because I in my head, my mom is a very sensitive, scared, God fearing person. Also, I mean, apart from all the fun, liveliness that she brings to the family and around herself, but she's also very fearful of things. I loved everything, the whole team, the efforts that they made to make her feel comfortable. But I had my questions. I wanted to be very sure of what they're doing, what medicines are going into her body. A lot of your knowledge comes from reading online and just talking to different people. And I was also in touch with a doctor from the US, so I just want to make sure the treatment that we are actually having is very globally accepted. It's not something that's alien to doctors in the US, and I wanted to take them in confidence because I wanted to make sure that we are doing the right kind of treatment. It's a very expensive treatment. It's a very taking toll on your finances kind of a treatment, I would say. Like you're literally spending a lot of money to ensure that you get past this treatment, but it also kind of hits you hard in your head when you think about, oh, is it going to come back or not? Now that we know that she has had it, I think she has to accept that she has to live fully, but she also has to make sure that she lives consciously. She has to make sure she has a conscious effort to better her food habits, her lifestyle, and her health related routine. And there's a lot of hope in the treatment nowadays. We have the best and the best of the doctors available in the market, so in the industry. So avail that help, sought that help, and then there's a lot of tremendous hope. So never lose hope, and you will definitely see that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and you'll always make it.
She's a person who wears her heart on her sleeve, so it's very difficult for her to not sort of put that reaction out. And I remember we had a very quiet sort of drive back home that day. When we were heading back home and when we figured out that piece of news, she was very silent throughout that journey. And once we got home is when actually things started sinking in, right? And I was sitting next to her, and it was in front of me. Of course, she was speaking to my sister at the time, but that was the first time that she actually completely broke down, and she was sobbing uncontrollably, almost like a small baby, who, because the first thought, because she's a doctor, she's of course heard the worst, she's seen the worst, so therefore you think the worst, right? There were only a couple of things that were there on our mind, that we are going to give her the best line of treatment, we're going to make sure that she comes out fighting. And yes, in the midst of all of that, we wanted to sort of ensure that logistics was, sort of taken care of in terms of where we stayed. We didn't want to sort of operate out of a place which was too distant from the hospital, because we knew that this would require constant back and forth between the hospital and where we were staying. So that was, of course, an important consideration. We were moving to a new city. This was also the first time I was moving to Gurgaon, which is where we sort of set our base up in. And A new city can be overwhelming in many different ways. And I was also starting a new industry, a new career, a new role. So all of that was sort of happening simultaneously. So it got a little overwhelming. I would sort of wholeheartedly admit it at many points during that journey. We found out a good place which was close to the house, which was also neat and clean, because hygiene is a great is a very important sort of factor in all of this. Like Isha was mentioning earlier, I think it was very, very imperative that we created an atmosphere which was not gloomy and sad and depressing, because that would have made her situation even worse, right? I mean, one of the things that was sort of given to us as a mandate by not just the doctors but also people who were speaking to us was always that please ensure that she's always in an environment which is positive and uplifting and sort of happy and cheerful, so that she can fight this not just physically but also mentally, because that's almost half, if not more, the battle. I've always asked my mother to, like one of the things that was very important for me was to, get her back into the medical practice, right? So even while she was on this journey, we almost insisted at many points for her to keep uh, whatever little that she can possibly do, given the physical limitations that this entire very draining process can put on you, that she keeps herself involved in look like treating her patients, speaking to them, doing consultations, so on and so forth, that she keeps herself mentally engaged in not just conversations in and around cancer, but also with her practice, right? Because that's the only way to keep herself sort of motivated and engaged outside of the entire sort of conversation that were happening around cancer. So yeah, so it was hard to see your parent go through all of that, right? I mean, you truly and I say this, I've said this before to someone, that you truly realize the value of a parent when you either become a parent, you lose one. And the thought of losing a parent became suddenly very real for all of us. Right? But I'm very, very proud of the way she's dealt with this. She always had a smile on her face. She was always being very, very positive about it. She understood, that there was a certain protocol that had to be followed. I mean, she was trying to do her best. I saw there were several days where uh, the when the drugs were sort of kicking in, at least in the initial first few weeks, like my sister was mentioning, she was down and out and she was struggling physically, but she was doing her best to not let the family, even in spite of the fact that she was going through so much herself, she was still making sure that the family was, positive and upbeat about things. No, so a couple of things. One, I think I want to leave them with some hope. So I think cancer is something that you can beat. It's very beatable. It's no longer something that means the end of life. I mean, uh, given the kind of the way things have evolved, the way treatments have evolved, I think we've made a lot of progress. Always create an atmosphere which is happy and positive as a caregiver. There will be several days where you will yourself, feel a little disoriented, a little demotivated, given that somebody you love so dearly is going through so much pain and so much trouble. But you'll have to sort of keep your feelings aside, because it's more important to keep the person who's sort of struggling and at the center of it. You need to keep their feelings first, and that's not always easy to do. I think you need to make some significant lifestyle changes, because that's very, very critical. And I think you need to take this as a wake up call. And we keep telling our mom now that you need to remind yourself that this happened for a reason. And if there's anything that you can take out of this, is that you need to keep reminding yourself that you don't let your lifestyle sort of lead you to another situation where you have to go to something so drastic to teach you a lesson of this nature.
So, friends, today you have seen Sangeeta and I share the journey through breast cancer uh, with you all. I hope it has benefited you. I wish to leave you with certain take home points. The first is that cancer is treatable. The second is that early detection of cancer is a must. I urge you all to take healthcare seriously. Preventive healthcare is far more rewarding than therapeutic healthcare. I wish every young man above the age of 25 at least gets one health checkup of a general body checkup through a qualified medical doctor once in 2 years. And of course, as need be, if required. Any person over the age of 40 must get his checkup annually, and so on and so forth. The older you get, the more frequently should you get your checkup. Any warning signs of cancer, which you can see in the subscript, which you are seeing scrolling along my conversation, should bring you to a neighborhood physician skilled in dealing with the detection and treatment of cancer immediately. I hope this message delivered to you through iClinic and IQ Comms has benefited you, your caretakers, and your families. I wish you all good health, prosperity, and a lot of smiles all your life. Thank you.